Hi, I'm Mara Webster. I am co-founder and head of programming at In Creative Company, and this is the first time that we are joining Girl Rising in collaboration with them, and so we are incredibly thrilled to be part of this year's annual summit. So thank you first and foremost to the entire team behind Girl Rising. We are having a conversation today where we're celebrating the new generation of Hollywood and how they're already shaping the landscape for the generation behind them through the fantastic characters that they're playing on screen. We have the really wonderful Tess Romero, who is the lead actress in Diary of a Future President, where she plays Elena, and Kyndra Sanchez, who is taking over the role of Dawn in the second season of Netflix's The Babysitter's Club. And I wanted to just start by having each of you just give a quick introduction of kind of who your character is and what it is that feels really important to you in the opportunity that you get to portray them and represent them on screen. And Tess, I'm going to start with you.
So I play Elena on Diary of a Future President, and she's sort of a typical young middle school girl. She's super book smart, she's super studious, determined, she has a lot of those like positive leader qualities about her, which is really nice and admirable. And yeah, I'm so lucky to play her because she has she has great representation. First of all, she's like a young girl who, spoiler alert, she grows up to become the president. And she's also, a Latina girl, and that's really important to see on screen. So yeah, very lucky to play her. Love Elena.
I play Dawn Schaefer on season 2 of The Babysitter's Club. Dawn, she is super kind, she is an advocate, and she uses her voice to empower, which is really important. And she is very confident, strong girl. She cares for her friends, and I love playing Dawn Schaefer because she is such an empowering character, and I feel like many girls can look up to her as a role model.
Yeah. And Tess, I know that when you took on this role that I've heard you say about how there was kind of a moment where it hit you of what it meant to be playing your character and to be representing her on screen and what that meant to audiences who were getting to connect with the character of Elena. And so I wanted to ask you about what was that moment that you suddenly realized the connection the audiences were really having with her as a character, and what did that really mean to you once you did realize?
Yeah, that moment would probably have come like after we finished filming everything, after the season came out. And in interviews and just like DMs or like, people contacting me being like, hey, like this was really inspiring. Like your performance really, it meant a lot to me, like as, a young girl of color or like whatever it is. And, people in interviews being like, oh, so what's it like representing a whole community? And I'm like, oh, shoot, I didn't think about that.
Who were some of the people that you really looked to, on screen or in other spaces when you were growing up that really meant a lot to you in terms of representation and spaces where you felt like you saw little aspects of yourself?
I didn't really have too many people to look up to when I was younger who looked like me, but something that I can recall is my mom singing songs from Selena Quintanilla or Celia Cruz or even from Jennifer Lopez, and actually that really inspired me.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There wasn't as many shows with, different representation, especially representation for girls of color. When I was, super little, like 8, 9, 10. We're seeing a lot more of it now, which is good, although we still have some room to grow. But yeah, I definitely sort of just clung to the ones that I had. I remember specifically growing up, I watched a ton of Wizards of Waverly Place, and I know Selena Gomez played Alex, and I love the show, obsessed with her, obsessed with Selena.
And you've both been working in the industry really extensively since an incredibly young age. So this has been a facet of your life for years. Even all those auditions and all those projects that you've worked on, even if they didn't all make it to screen, there's still an inordinate amount of work. What have some of the specific challenges been?
Yeah, it's definitely been tricky to juggle acting and also school and just my home life and being a regular person. I try as hard as I can to just like really separate the two. It's a little easier for me because I live in New York. So when I'm in LA, I'm in LA and I am like flown there. I'm in a different state. I'm like away from everyone. And then when I'm here, I try to just like stay focused on school and just like my life and my friends at home.
A couple things that I tried to stick with and follow. I always try to, time management, communication, and something that works for me personally is writing lists and writing everything that I have to do down. For me, education is first, so I have to constantly make sure that I'm getting my work done.
Tess, obviously, like you said earlier, we know that your character goes on to become president in the future, but being president isn't a one-person job. What are some of the things that you feel you've really learned about the collaboration of leadership through getting to play this character on screen?
Obviously, Elena grows up and becomes this, super amazing leader, which is really cool. But in her younger years, we can sort of just see her learning what it means to be a leader, like you said, and just like learning how to, lead and like follow your heart and do what you think is right, but also, be aware of the people around you. There's a few storylines where she's learning to become a better friend and just like a better person, a better family member, especially in season 2.
And then lastly, we have a couple of questions that were submitted by fellows within Girl Rising. So we have one for each of you, and I just wanted to wrap up by jumping to each of these. So for you, Kyndra, we have a question from Maria in Portland, Oregon, who's saying, you're the second person to play Dawn in the Babysitters Club, which we were talking about earlier. Was it hard to make this role your own, knowing that another actor had played her before? And what did this teach you about finding your own voice?
If you've seen season 1, you know that Xochitl Gomez did an amazing job at playing Dawn Schaefer, and she had her own take on it. And I just really hope that the world gets to see my take on the season 2 playing Dawn Schaefer on the Babysitters Club.
Tess, we have a question for you from Lindsay in Boston, who's asking, your show is all about looking to the future. The word future is even in the title, but these are really crazy times with COVID and climate change. What are the ways in which you feel optimistic for the future?
Ooh, that's a good one. I mean, it's definitely easy, especially in today's culture where you're just seeing all these like really depressing, news articles and tweets and whatever to just like get really down. But I think it is really good to, have hope, which I'm definitely trying to do myself. Just, try and do our best to do your part to help create the world that you want to see, the future that you're hoping for. I think that's a great way to stay optimistic.
Well, I'm so impressed. I think it's so fantastic that audiences have the opportunity to grow up with looking at the two of you representation, going back to what we were talking about, where you both felt like you didn't necessarily always have people to look up to on screen. Thank you so much for participating in today's Talk for Girl Rising.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.